Dealing in firearms is against the federal law if you don't have a license to sell and buy firearms from state to state or within your own state. It's especially illegal for ex-felons to own or to go in the business of underground arms dealing. But the definition of that, how do you define what is dealing? It is not illegal for a citizen to run an ad in the paper and say he wants to sell his pistol and sell it to another citizen. There's absolutely no limit on the amount of times he can do this before he's considered a dealer. So, what is considered a dealer? Well, a dealer is someone who buys hundreds of firearms, who has an established business, and who sells these with your licenses, uh, and it's a big racket. Your gun dealers, they get a special license from the government to sell firearms, and then they charge. Then the government can charge you millions of dollars for gun permits, and of course, the only persons who can give you gun permits is um, gun dealers. So it's a racket. It's the carrying concealed firearms racket, the carrying permit racket. It is not illegal for citizens to buy and sell firearms. It's not illegal for you to. In fact, this is the only way a convicted felon can obtain a firearm. If you live in the state of Texas and you're a convicted felon, after 5 years, you have your rights restored to you to own firearms in that state. And the only way you can buy a firearm is to buy it from an individual or to get someone to go and buy it for you. It's not illegal for a citizen to buy a convicted felon a handgun uh, if his state permits him to do it. In other words, if I wanted a firearm in Texas, guaranteed me the right to own one. They said I could own one after 5 years. Then, if I get someone to go to the gun dealer, and put an application in for the firearms, run their own criminal background checks, then he can legally give me that firearm. There is no laws against that under federal law nor state law. Now, there is federal laws that prohibit convicted felons from buying and selling. See, we're back to this buying and selling across state lines in interstate commerce. You don't want to have a trunk load full of guns going across the state line selling to gang members. You will go to the penitentiary for life. But as far as legally owning a firearm in your state, under federal law, now realize that the federal authorities have arrested convicted felons in their state for merely owning a firearm for his own protection. And they're not supposed to do this because under federal law you have to be in the selling and buying of firearms on a large scale before you, as a convicted felon, could be arrested for merely owning a firearm. There's a good chance that they will arrest you for merely owning a firearm under federal law and try to use this law to do this. They don't have the right to do this, but they do it. And we at exfelon.biz are working to get a federal law. Well, we want to amend the USCA 18.22, the federal codes on federal firearms laws. We want to amend them to specifically state that you, as an ex-felon, may own firearms after 5 years. We also seek to prevent any federal gun laws from going on the books that would make it illegal for citizens to sell to citizens. We don't want our Second Amendment rights undermined. We live in a nation where the government, cannot prohibit us from buying and selling firearms as citizens. If we're not doing it as a business and a full-time job, then we have the right. We want to keep that right to be able to buy and sell shotguns, rifles, pistols legally among ourselves. It's always wise to realize you when you buy a firearm from an individual, do it in your own state. Don't go from state to state with it, because you see the old federal, the ATF can come in and say you're in interstate commerce if you're buying a firearm from another state.